Why, hello there. You've stumbled upon this podcast. Join us, shall you? Why, hello there. You've stumbled upon this podcast, so join us, shall you? I'm your host, Jess, of the Yessie and Jessie podcast. Isn't it past your bedtime? I think you've been scrolling a little too long. Anyways, we're gonna jump right into the podcast. Today's podcast is gonna be my traumatic birth story. Not technically my birth story, but Yessie's birth story. I figured I would do this video today. I'm in a good mood, and as much as it pains me to talk about this because this was a really hard time in my life, the thought of Yessie makes me happy, so I'm just gonna go along with this podcast and do what my brain is telling me to do. I'm currently downstairs. Tornado's down here. I don't know how long that will last because he's usually outside. And then we have Freya. She's currently downstairs because she doesn't know how to not pee on our stuff. So we had to isolate her. We have her in the basement. It's not like a dungeon or anything. I'm down here with her. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna re-litter box train her, and see if there's any problems, bring her to the vet and stuff. So I just thought it would be best to isolate her for a minute. Reacher went back outside. He decided to go back outside, so the basement's free now again. So I put Freya down here. Yeah, Reacher, I haven't seen him in a couple days. I don't know what is up with him, but he went back outside, hung out in our yard, and then dipped. So if I sound a little off in this podcast, it's because my allergies are really messing with me today. We're in flash flood warning again, and I don't know if it's because all the rain is getting the pollen stuck to everything, but yeah, it's feeling a little nasally today. So today's podcast is going to be about Yessie's birth story. She's currently upstairs with my husband. He's off today, so I get to make a podcast. I thought I would first start by taking you through how my pregnancy was, and then leading up to, bam, preeclampsia sets in, and then, yeah. So I must have the worst luck as a human being because I have so many bad things happen to me, but I guess that's why I'm this funny. I don't know. Um, I'm talking lightly, but, this stuff really does get to me. So just keep that in mind throughout the video. So, to start off, I found out I was pregnant about, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks after I got out of the hospital. I had a little oopsie, a little slip up with my bipolar disorder, and I was in the hospital for a few days. I was actually supposed to go to therapy afterwards, but it didn't work out. So, because I had school. So I was just chilling at home, and I don't know, I just had the feeling that I was pregnant. I had been off of my birth control. So to actually preface this, so we had been trying to have a baby. It wasn't like unplanned thing. We had been trying to have a baby. I had went to my doctors, went to genetic counselor, all of these things, just to make sure with medications I'm on and stuff like that we could have a baby and it would be safe. If you want a video on pregnancy and what, let me know in the comments or, email me, whatever you want to do. But yeah, we had been married for 6 years almost at this point, and I decided that it was time to add somebody else to our family. So I went through all that stuff and made sure that it was safe, and I just didn't expect to get pregnant that quickly, because I had been on birth control for almost 10 years, I think, at that point. So I thought that that would mess with things, and they thought that, I'm not sure if this is still relevant, but they thought I had endometriosis at the time. Um, yeah, I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to make it a surprise to Josue, but that didn't happen. I was too surprised myself, so I just kind of called him in the room and was like, "Oh my God, look, we're having a baby." From there, I made an appointment with my doctor. They did a pregnancy test. I think that actually the like urine test came back that I wasn't pregnant, and then they did another test. They did a blood test, and that came back that I was indeed pregnant. My numbers were going up like crazy, like they're supposed to when you're pregnant. I'm trying to think of what that hormone is, but I can't at the moment. I'm sure you guys know what it is. But yeah, from there it was like smooth sailing. I had a bit of nausea in the beginning. Um, it wasn't anything like too severe. I know people that have had nausea and vomiting like their whole pregnancy, and I feel so bad because I feel like I had a great pregnancy up until the end. Um, so yeah, no nausea, no vomiting really. I gained 50 pounds through my pregnancy. I was 180 pounds when I started uh, through the journey. And then I lost like 5 pounds. I remember I was working out throughout, like, I would say I was like 4 months pregnant. You know, I was 4 to 5 months pregnant. I was still working out. Uh, I wasn't feeling that bad. And yeah, I lost 5 pounds, and then I gained that back once it was like the sixth month, and that's when the baby really started growing. So then from there, I gained weight. I was 236 pounds by the end of my pregnancy. I don't know how much of that was like fluid and like water weight because I had so much swelling in my legs. Um, but yeah, so by the time that I was like 6 months pregnant, that's when things really not took a turn, but like they were getting worse, I guess. I was having problems with my blood sugar. It seems like now is the problem that I was having. They didn't know what was going on. I was having no migraines at the time. My bipolar was in check. I was happy, but I was fainting, uh, and they didn't know if it was because I wasn't like eating enough or I have like all the stress of being pregnant. So now we think that it was my blood sugar being low because I'm still having issues with this now. Um, but I would be in the middle of activities and just faint. But it was like I was awake. Uh, I could understand what was going on and things like that. I just couldn't respond. And then they put me through tests to see if like I was having seizures and things like that. And they made me go to this thing where I had to like look at this flashing light. It was terrible. Um, but yeah, nothing came of it. So I don't know. It's just a mystery. That I guess we'll never that part we'll never find out unless I have another kid, I guess. Um, I had a lot of family stress during my pregnancy, and I thought that that would really make things worse, like exacerbate symptoms that you don't want during pregnancy, uh, and make them worse. Uh, that didn't happen, shockingly enough, but um, I'm grateful that I got through that. I can't believe how much stress I went through when I was pregnant. This was like such a hard time. I had no support other than my like immediate family at this time, like Josue and his family. And then on top of that, my cat Lucy, I've had her for 6 years at that point. She decides that she's mad because my hormones are raging, and I guess she can smell it because she's a cat. So she decides to pee on my stuff while I was pregnant, and it was like an everyday thing, and it was so stressful. And then I had Midnight, this other cat. We had somebody living with us at the time, um, and their cat was up my butt all the time, and he wouldn't leave me alone, and he would just meow and meow and meow. So that was like the stress, I guess, that I had in my regular daily life. It wasn't too bad. It was just cats yelling at me and peeing on my stuff. I don't know. This just turned into like a rant. But I was nesting super bad like my whole pregnancy. So I get disability I get social security disability, and it's because I'm disabled. I have bipolar disorder along with a million other things that are wrong with me. Um so during this time I was fighting that, and I had a lawyer, and I actually won my case, so they paid me out my earnings that my disability money that I would have accumulated from the past like couple of years that I was fighting this case. So that really helped when I was pregnant because I was able to mostly get whatever I needed for my child and not have any limitations to what I could and could not buy. So Yessie was a spoiled child even before she was here. um, so yeah, I got my money, did that, and then after that, I was like going around the apartment and cleaning everything and rearranging everything like every day. I think that part of me got a little excessive. I yeah, the cleaning part is always something that when I'm dealing with stress, I clean a lot. And then we got into month 7, month 8. Um, this is when it started going downhill for me. I was this might be a video about some of my pregnancy stuff too, I guess, because this is what I'm going into right now. But so yeah, I had preeclampsia. I didn't know it at the time. I started having swelling in my legs around 36 weeks, which is really late. I've been told by my doctors. Like I got lucky and didn't have preeclampsia for like the majority of my pregnancy. Like I wasn't on bed rest, things like that. I was having like a lot of fainting spells and things, so I was laying down a lot, but it wasn't the doctor told me to do it. So I started having swelling around this time, and it got pretty noticeable. I would be walking around, and like I couldn't walk around for that long. So like going places was kind of out of the question for me. Um, at the end of my pregnancy, and then I would clean and like do the dishes and things. And if I was standing for more than like 5 to 10 minutes, um, my legs became unbearably like painful. During this time too, I had a lot of stretch marks on my legs. Like that's where I gained the majority of my weight was in my like upper thighs and like the bottom of my legs because of all the fluid, I guess. Uh, and I had stretch marks so bad that people would come up to me and ask me what is wrong because like and my dad thought they're like he was like what the hell happened to your legs because it looked like a bear had like clawed my legs. The stretch marks were so bad. They're gone now, thankfully. But it looked like I had been through some like traumatic event already. So I had to elevate my legs. I would get, I would lay down from the day and just, it was so painful. Um, and then I would have pillows under my legs to elevate them, but it didn't really help. I started putting like magnesium roll-ons on my legs, because I was having so many like aches and pains. And then from there, it just got worse. I ended up going to my doctor. At first, they were like, okay, the swelling, yeah, it's a bit excessive, but it's nothing too bad, so we'll wait it out a little bit. But if it gets worse, like go to the hospital. So I ended up having to, I thought my water had broke. I was at home, I thought I was having contractions, um, and ended up calling my husband to come bring me to the hospital. And I thought my water had broke that day. It didn't. Um, and then we go to the hospital and they admitted me. Um, and then the doctor came in and seen me and immediately was like, yeah, like your legs, that's a problem. And oh, at this time too, my blood pressure was high. That's also why I was going to the doctor. I stressed my doctor. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling like, really faint and just not well. And I went to the doctor a few times and my blood pressure was a little high, a little elevated. Uh, but they just thought, I was anxious or something like that. But as it progressed and as I went to the doctor more and more throughout my pregnancy, my blood pressure was like getting to the point where it was a concern. So I got to the hospital. They're looking at my legs, they're looking at the blood pressure, they're thinking something's a little off here. So they were like, "Oh, we're gonna induce you," and I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, I thought I was gonna have to come back, like they were gonna schedule it like they do with all these other people. That wasn't the case. They were like, "Okay, you're getting admitted now, and we're gonna put this thing where the sun doesn't shine, and So yeah, I got admitted. They got us a room. I remember still like sitting in the hallway waiting, and like being traumatized because there was all these other people giving birth, and you could hear them from where I was sitting, and like this is my first kid, so I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, what is going on? What did I get myself into? But yeah, they got us in the room. They hooked us up to the heart monitor and all the other things. Then they placed a Foley bulb. I think that's what it's called. Uh, they placed that and just kind of waited for it to fall out. Eventually it did fall out. I don't remember like the timeline for this. Like I know it's not just like a little bit of time, not a few hours. It took like a long time for this whole process that I'm talking about to happen. I was just so tired. I hadn't slept for like 2 days before this. And my husband had just came home from work, so he didn't get sleep. And yeah, we didn't like take pictures or videos during this time really. Uh, and my old Facebook got deleted, so I don't really have a timeline. It just all happens so fast in my brain that, yeah. So yeah, the Foley bulb fell out. Then after that, they started me with uh, Pitocin, I think it, or Pitocin, um, the drug to induce my labor. Um, Again, that was pretty smooth sailing. The Foley bulb was no problem. It didn't hurt or anything like that. Even though I'm shocked because the thing is like huge once you see it. Um, and so yeah, I still wasn't dilated or anything at this point. They're giving me the medication. I was still feeling fine. Then they started giving me magnesium for my leg swelling and my hypertension, and that is when things took a dive for me. The magnesium makes you really weak, and I didn't know some of the symptoms that you have from the magnesium. Like I didn't know at the time that they were from the magnesium, so I'm thinking like, oh my God, like I'm freaking out thinking that like I'm going blind or something. Um, but yeah, they started the magnesium drip, and then from there I just kind of hung out. Wasn't having like they were saying I was having contractions. I don't remember feeling them. I just remember chilling. And they were like, yeah, like you're having a really bad contraction right now, and I'm just like, okay. Um, I wasn't saying okay once the actual contractions happened. And she was like almost in this world. I was freaking out. But that's for the end of the video. Oh, I just deleted part of the video, so now I have to re-record this again. Fun times. So yeah, I couldn't see anything. My vision was pretty blurry. I wasn't able to move. So from this point forward, I had a catheter put in. Oh my God, it was such a big ordeal. They put it in like 3 or 4 times because every time that they would put it in, it would get dislodged. So I was just sitting there in like pain for the whole entire duration of me having my daughter. And then when I was pushing her out, they had to reinsert the catheter really quick because it was getting in the way of like her coming into this world. It was just horrible. During this time, my husband was the only person that was there. Uh, I wasn't able to have anybody else with me because COVID was going on during this time. I didn't even think that they would let my husband in the room with me, but they did. I think we had to wear masks. Um, and I know there's people that had babies before me because I had my daughter at like the end of COVID, I think. And like there's people that were having children and they weren't even allowed to have their husbands in the room, I've heard. So I got really lucky in that sense. But yeah, so when they hooked me up to the Pitocin or Pitocin, um, they that was, for a while, and then I went into labor. Um, I they were telling me I was having contractions, but I couldn't feel them, and they would periodically come in and check how dilated I was. I remember I was at 8 centimeters, and they're like, oh, you still have some time, like, sit tight, we'll go get the doctor. And I was like, no, I need this baby out of me now. And then the next thing you know, I was like 10 centimeters dilated, and they were bringing me into the labor and delivery. Uh, from there, it was really hard. So my intention for my delivery was that I was going to be walking around and, being able to use the bathroom on my own. Uh, that was not the case with my actual labor and delivery. I was not able to move. I could not move from the bed the whole time. I I was hooked up to the catheter, so I couldn't use the bathroom. I didn't want an epidural, and I was very against having an epidural. I wanted to have my daughter naturally, and that was not the case. I ended up getting an epidural. Um, I was just in so much pain. I just wanted everything to go away. That when they came in and asked me for the last time, I've just finally said yes. Me and my husband kind of had to talk about it, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. I didn't think I could sit still for that long. Um, but I did. That was my main concern, is like I didn't think with my anxiety that with needles that I would be able to sit still that long, and I sat like a champ, so I'm pretty happy. I didn't have any of like the weird side effects from it that people talk about. So I was 39 and 8 days, well, 39 weeks and 8 days pregnant when I had my daughter. So I got induced like really, like, I don't know, late or early, as depending on how you look at it. Uh, Late in the sense that I think that they should have maybe induced me a little earlier than this, uh, just because of all the problems I was having, and my doctors, in talking to them now. But late in the sense that, or sorry, early in the sense that I was not like one of those people that was like 42 weeks pregnant and they're having an induction. Whenever I talk about inducting, it always sounds like I'm talking about like a stove or a cooktop or something. So yeah, I remember having my daughter, finally being like, this is the time I'm gonna start pushing. I remember being really weak and feeling like I couldn't do it. They brought in this like bar for me to hold on to and like push. The lady was telling me I was doing a good job, I didn't think I was doing too much of a good job. Even my husband was like, "You're not pushing correctly," and I'm like, "You try pushing a baby out of your vajayjay." Uh, but yeah, so I during this time it was like kind of stressful for me. My blood pressure was going up, my heart rate kept going up as I was getting more and more into labor. Um, Now all the stuff that I'm saying is like stuff that I found out like afterwards. Like a lot of the time, like this whole, oh, my I remember my blood pressure going up during this time, and it was almost like, I think it was at like 200 or something, or higher. I don't remember, but it was pretty high during the time that I was in labor. But my doctors even have stressed to me after talking to them. They're like, "Man, you really had a rough labor." From here, I pushed for like 4 hours. I've been told that that was too long. They should have gave me a C-section. Uh, I've been told by my doctors that that was a really long time too. Um, I remember when I was pushing her out, it was just like I was just so relieved to have this be over with that I couldn't think of anything else. Like even the pain from having her, like like crowning and things like that, I don't remember. I just remember feeling relieved. So once they had her out, I remember them taking her immediately from us, not letting my husband uh, snip the umbilical cord, and just whisking her away to like the little table section thing that they had over across the room. And I just remember hearing her not crying and being very nervous because I'm like, aren't babies supposed to be crying when they come out? So during this whole time, I'm asking, I'm like, is my baby okay? Like, is she gonna be okay? And come to find out, her Apgar score was like 2 when she came out, and then it was an 8, thank God. And they were able to get her breathing. She was like blue when she came out. Um, and they were able to get her breathing before they had to bring her to the NICU. So no NICU for her, thank God. Um, it was more so she was fine. It was just me that was having the difficulty during this whole process. So I wasn't able to hold her. They immediately gave her to my husband after. He was exhausted. Like I mean, he was so tired. Um, but he was holding her, and then they were just starting to work on me and getting me better. Um, they waited 30 minutes. I was told after this all happened that they waited 30 minutes for my placenta to come out. It didn't come out on its own, so they had to manually go in there, and that was the worst part of this whole ordeal. They had to manually go in there and get it um, and scrape it out. It's horrendous. It was the worst thing I've ever had to experience. So yeah, during this time they were doing that, and then they were also stitching me up because I had a third-degree tear. And then this whole time while I was having her, I had the oxygen mask on me because I thought I was going to pass out. Like, I genuinely thought that I was on my way out. I thought I was dying. I thought this is what dying in childbirth looks like. There was a ton of blood. My uh, water did not break until I had her. So it was just this rush. It literally looks like somebody popped a pool um, when she came out. Again, come to find out, I had lost a lot of blood during this time, and that's why I was feeling so weak. So, I mean, I've been told by doctors that I could have died. My blood count was like non-existent. My like I had to get transfusions and stuff after. I'll talk more about that at the end of the video. So yeah, I still couldn't see at this point, and they're like telling me, okay, everything's gonna be fine, you know, like we're gonna bring you into another room. They swapped us from room to room. I don't think they knew what to do with us, because the baby was fine, but I wasn't fine, so they were just like confused on where to put me, um, because normally they're dealing with the baby afterwards, and this time they were dealing with me, being the one in having problems. So they finally moved us to this like little room. I remember it was like not too big. They had a medication dispenser thing, and they gave me my medication, um, my normal meds and everything like that. They had a psychiatrist or like a social worker come in and talk to me because I was having issues with my psychiatrist at the time. It was more so like a scheduling issue rather than an issue with the psychiatrist. Um, so we were just kind of trying to get that situated so that when I go home from the hospital, I have a plan. Um, yeah, they started giving me a regular medication, and they brought the baby and my husband in. My husband went to go take a shower and go get a coffee with some friends during this time and just, you know, take some time to himself. Um, I was just, you know, still exhausted. They had the baby with me during this time that my husband was gone, but I wasn't able to hold her because I was still on the magnesium. Um, and I think that was like the hardest part was staring at her in the little plastic like bassinet thingy and knowing that I couldn't hold her because I was too weak to hold her. Stuff like that really weighs heavy on me sometimes, but my husband, he is very supportive, and you know, he says that I shouldn't be dwelling on stuff like that because I've had so many new memories that I've made with Yessie, and I think that's true. I 100% think that's true. It's just really hard to get over when it's, you know, this is so traumatic to me, um, and everything I went through. So once my husband came back, they moved us to another room. This was like the final room that we were um, in the labor and delivery like ward, I guess, where everybody's recovering. There was a shower. There was like a little like pull out kind of like mattress bed thing for my husband. They got me off of the magnesium, so I was able to walk around. Not that I was able to, I couldn't walk around still during this time, but they were slowly taking me off of magnesium, taking the catheter out, so that I could be more comfortable to get me to walk around. I just remember a lot of people coming in to check on us during this time, and them coming in to like massage my stomach to make sure that everything was like out and coming out. Uh, and then they came in to give me my meds again, and this is when like I had fallen asleep. Finally they took the catheter and they took the magnesium drip out so I could be comfortable, and I fell asleep. My husband was with the baby, um, and they couldn't wake me up to give me my medication, and they're telling my husband, they're like, she's not waking up, and he's like, oh well, she's just, the medications make her sleep like really heavy sometimes, so you might just have to like try a little harder. um and I wasn't waking up, so they had to do a sternum rub on me or whatever it's called, and finally I woke up. um but they were full blown having a crash cart on its way because they thought something was really wrong. From here, honestly, I think for the next year after this is just the worst part of my life, because I feel like I lost a year of my life to just having my daughter, having the complications that arose from having my daughter. Um, I was going to get discharged from the hospital after my daughter, and they were like, well, we don't want to like send your daughter home without you, so we're just going to keep her here with you. So I had to stay an additional couple days, and they tried to get me up and walking, and I mean, they would have me stand up, and my heart rate and my blood pressure would go up so high, and I'd feel like I was gonna faint. I had to sit back down. Um, so it was really hard in the beginning. It literally felt like I got like a major surgery or something, and I was uh recovering from that, and in reality I just had a child, and there's a lot of people that they get up right afterwards and like they're walking around with the baby and stuff like that. That wasn't the case for me. My legs were still really swollen. They got even more swollen after I had my daughter. For 6 weeks, they were swollen afterwards. I was even going to the doctor, being like, is this normal?" Then they reassured me it was, and it eventually went away. But like during this time in the hospital, like my legs are huge. I could barely walk to the bathroom because I was in so much pain, and I mean, I could barely get out of the bed because I almost fainted. Um, so really, I was just working on getting myself home, getting myself comfortable, um, and really thinking of how I'm going to adjust having a baby and feeling like this, because this is not something that I expected when I was pregnant. I had such a good pregnancy and everything was going fine that I just didn't know how to cope with this. And then all of that is swirling around in my brain while I'm thinking to myself, hey, like I almost died, like I need to take it easy, but taking it easy is not in my repertoire, okay? Again, all of this is stuff that my doctors have, told me, or that I've remembered from the time. My doctors have told me how bad, like how severe this uh condition that I was in was, and it really opened my eyes and made me realize that I need to live every day to its fullest and really treasure the moments that I have with my family. So once I was home, there wasn't too much that changed. I was, still in the same mindset, same physical condition. I did have a lot of help once I got home. My husband's family was a great help during this time. Um, if I didn't have his family, and if I didn't have my husband during this time, I don't know what I would have done. I don't think I would have been able to get through this because I wasn't able to do so much for myself. I wasn't able to drive because I couldn't get in my car. I lived on the second floor of an apartment complex, and I could barely walk up the stairs, so I couldn't really go outside. And thankfully, we lived on a one-floor apartment, so I could, go use the bathroom and things like that by myself. But I was really pushing myself during this time. I was trying to clean the house, and I was trying to take care of my daughter, like picking her up and things like that. And I couldn't, but I kept pushing myself and pushing myself. And if I would have just learned to chill the fuck out during this time, things would have went a lot smoother, but that's just not how my brain works. And I was, like I said, I was having postpartum psychosis, like postpartum depression or whatever, like after, um, I had her, so I wasn't in the right mind frame. I wasn't in the right mental state. During this time, I had a lot of stress too because I was putting a lot of stress on my husband. I don't even that's another video, but of how he feels about the whole situation. So yeah, I was having a lot of stress at home because I was making it stressful. I was bringing my husband to work and like I would have meltdowns. Um, and he'd have to take off of work to take care of me and the baby. Um, I mean, I had full-blown episodes during this time. Like I wanted to commit seppuku, and not be alive anymore. And they wanted to hospitalize me, but I didn't want to be away from my child for that long, even if it was a few days. Uh, I was just in this really weird mindset. So it was really stressful in our marriage. I'm really glad that we're over this point in time now. Uh, who knows if this will happen again if we have another child, but now we are prepared. We've talked about, our game plan if this were to happen with our next child. We do intend on having more children. Um, but and if not, you know what? Then that's good too, and we have smooth sailing from there. But yeah, from here, I've just learned to cope with it. It's gotten a lot better. I'm recovering a lot better now. It's almost 2 years out from when I've had my daughter. I can genuinely say that my life has better quality now. Not just from having my daughter and the joy she brings to me, but just because I'm not as sick anymore. I had a lot of recovery. My doctors, I don't think it was taken seriously at first. I felt like I wasn't taken seriously by my doctors in the beginning. I was dismissed by a lot of my doctors saying that, oh, it's just, you just had a baby, you're gonna feel ill, and things like that. It took me a really long time for them to be able to do the blood tests and things like that and get me. I had to do iron transfusions. I had to do like a couple of them every couple of weeks. And I remember just being at these iron transfusions, exhausted, and I remember just falling asleep. And I don't fall asleep easily. Like I can't even fall asleep in the car if somebody else is driving, because I'm so nervous. So for me to fall asleep in a place that I'm not normally, what's the word? That I don't normally go to and things like that, was shocking to me. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up. This was my birth story. This was my daughter's birth story. Um, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you found something in this video useful. And thank you all for listening. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much. You don't understand how much it means to me that there's people listening to what I have to say out there. I don't feel like I've been heard from enough in my life. I feel like I've had a lot of people not want to hear what I have to say, so I'm really glad if you got this far. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.